case, actress Felicity Huffman is currently serving time behind bars after pleading guilty to her role in the college admissions scandal. But now federal prosecutors have filed new charges against those parents who have pled not guilty, including actress Lori Loughlin, her husband Massimo Giannulli, and also La Jolla resident and former KFMB owner Elizabeth Kimmel. Here to talk now more about this is KUSI contributor and criminal defense attorney Vikas Bajaj. Good to see you, Vic. How are you?
Likewise. Great to see you. Thank
Okay,
you.
so let's get right into it with the new charge. This is conspiracy to commit federal program bribery.
Yes.
Why did they do this? What does this mean?
There are no surprises here, Logan. What happens in these cases is the federal government starts, unfortunately, sometimes quite aggressively, knocking on professionals' doors, and even ATF agents here locally jumping over fences to excise interviews and statements. What this does with the sort of pattern we're unfortunately seeing with agencies, for instance, like the ATF and some FBI investigations, I hope I don't get a knock on my door tomorrow after saying this, is a lot of aggression, a lot of aggressive tactics. What ends up happening then is we sit back on our couch on Monday and we say, well, how come this person's not pleading guilty, or how come this person's not pleading guilty? The X factor here is emotion. You have to understand that these are people that are defendants, and their lives are forever more changed. And we're looking at the real prospect of custody. We understand some of the defendants have been offered deals 2 years, at around 2 years, and rejected those deals. And we all say, well, why would they do that if the proof is so clear? Aren't they just setting themselves up? We don't know what the jury will hear. We see the indictment, the superseding indictment, which means the new charges that we see coming in now, and additional charges that may come in the future. Translating all of this activity into one very clear glass of water would reach the conclusion that the federal government has infinite resources in their arsenal. The federal sentencing guidelines and the crimes, Logan, maybe is about 3 inches thick of a book. Well, the book that interprets the book is maybe 4 volumes of 400 pages each. So once the federal government feels there's something that they want to extract from a defendant, they will do that. Once they don't get a plea, they will move forward on their threat, and it is a threat. We'll charge you with more charges, more prison time if you don't plead guilty. One must ask, though, if we have a constitutional right to go to trial on the charges that we are that we know we're facing, and we say we want to go to trial, we don't believe in those charges. We think that jury may actually hang. We think they may not approve of some of these tactics. Well, then the federal government comes forward, and the FBI and the DOJ says, okay, we understand that, but now we're going to levy more charges against you. Yeah. And it ups the ante. It's sort of a Martha Stewart kind of a case.
They're just putting the screws to them. 29 out of the 52 defendants have pled guilty, so now you've just got a handful left, and it just seems like the more that plead guilty, the ones that are left kind of holding the bag are just really, they're under so much more pressure to plead guilty and just take now maybe a worse sentence than they might have gotten months previously.
It may be the case, but let's also not lose sight of the fact that when you're in a jury trial, not only jurors are evaluating the credibility of your client or the defendant, but the judge is refereeing the entire act between prosecution and defense. So if there is a guilty verdict, many times we walk into a trial knowing that the mitigating evidence will be so much that it would sway the judge, notwithstanding a guilty verdict being returned. So this is an opportunity for the court to have more of an encyclopedic knowledge of what actually happened in the case. Oh. The reason why I point that out with such clarity is because it is very much a fatal blow for us to believe every word that we read in the indictment. Mm-hmm. We have not seen the police reports. We have not listened to the wiretaps or any of the recorded conversations. At the end of the day, you have wealthy people who had the ability to hire a consulting firm, which on paper looks like a legitimate firm that Mr. Singer was running. And they took advice and direction from the expert they hired. This is the world of consultants we live in. And perhaps that's a mitigating factor that if that chronology is presented to a fact finder, a jury, they may very well say, well, maybe there's a technical crime here, But we're hung. We can't quite agree.
So maybe
and
they go for
perhaps
the hung
that is
jury.
the strategy at the end of the day.
All right, Vic Bajaj, well, thanks. It'll be certainly interesting to see where it goes from here.
Yes.
Maybe a few of them will take a plea, or maybe they'll stay with their idea that they're going to keep pleading not guilty and take it to trial.
That's right.
Yeah, okay,
That's right.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.